Welcome everybody to our August DataHub Town Hall. If we've not met, I'm Maggie. I'm the the DataHub Community Product Manager. Always happy to see your lovely squares on the screen, and we have plenty to share with you today. So let's dig on in. From an agenda standpoint, like I said, we have a ton to get through. We actually have two case studies or community-led sections today, which I'm super excited about. So we'll hear from the Etsy team, we'll hear from Atul from Genworth with some kind of custom work that he's been doing. And then we just have some UI improvements galore to walk you through and some pretty exciting stuff. Before we dig into that, let's take a look at kind of DataHub community, what the stats look like over the last month or so. If you were at Town Hall last month, we talked about this a little bit. We are seeing a little bit of a slowdown from the summer months in terms of activity, but we still are seeing, I think last month was like 270 new members. This month we had an additional 260 new community members. So we're well over 4,000, which is just kind of crazy. Still a ton of weekly active users. So on average, we're seeing about 870 to about 900 weekly active users. So, even though it is a little bit lower than last month, still super vibrant. There's still a ton going on. Just shy of 9,000 messages posted and 624 emoji reactions. So like I said, a little bit of a slowdown from the summer, but it's exciting to see that we're still welcoming in new folks. One other thing that we look at together is our community support volume, and just to get a sense of where they're, kind of like the trajectory or the throughput of our contributions, and then also community support within our Slack. I added in one additional metric in here. So we normally were looking at the number of issues opened and the number of pull requests opened. I actually pulled in the merge requests as well, or merge pull requests, so we could kind of understand that ratio of throughput. So in this last period, so this last 4-week period, we did see 5 more PRs on average per week be opened, and we're trending right around the same kind of open and merge rate from the PR standpoint. From a support side within Slack, we did see an increase. So this is interesting, even though overall we saw kind of a lower number or like a lower volume of engagement, we actually saw an increase in the number of support questions that we were getting. So primarily this is happening in our ingestion and troubleshoot channels. Once again, if you're able to jump in and help answer questions for one another, it's a massive help for the core team. It means that we are able to spend more time building out net new features or moving community contributions through our PR review. So we really appreciate when folks are able to jump in there. Quick roadmap update. We are going to actually see some previews of this today, but we have some improvements to our DataHub SDK coming in. Today, we're going to be sharing the patch update functionality that we're working on. And then Gabe is going to walk us through a preview of our advanced search functionality. In terms of our getting started tutorial, we're making some improvements to our doc site. I'm going to give you a quick demo of that in a second. So all in all, we're making some really great progress on our Q3 roadmap. And I'm optimistic that we will be able to, at the bare minimum, get started on everything that we had scoped out for this quarter within the next month or so. Speaking of Docs Overhaul, let me give you just a super quick overview here. This isn't merged yet. I'm hoping this will be merged by the end of this week. So our landing page has a new look. Our hope here is that when people land, they can immediately jump in and get started and start to understand kind of the lay of the land of our doc site. So if you click on Get Started, this takes you to our new documentation homepage. We have split this into a handful of different modules for folks to kind of step through and getting familiar with the project. We also have some quick links out to deployment guides. So depending on what your deployment setup is, ingestion guide, these are our most kind of common points of ingestion. And then feature guides down here. There's also a new search bar up here. So if you wanted to look for Snowflake, it would show you, it would basically search the entirety of our doc site there. So just a quick link into here, you'll notice a new sidebar. So it's a much more kind of sequential in the organization. And there was one other thing that I wanted to call out, and I can't quite remember. But really, the goal is that folks will just have a much more intuitive way to navigate through our doc site. And then we're also going to be pushing out additional resources in the coming weeks as well. So plenty to come there. As soon as that's live, I'd love feedback. Really, I just want to make sure that these are resources that are helpful and useful for you. All right, quick rundown of our community shout outs. We had, I think it was just shy of 20 people helping out in the community this month. We really, like I said, we really appreciate the support. So massive thanks to all of these folks that we have listed here. XL, of course, is always our shining contributor. So big shout out to XL for jumping in on any and all questions. We really appreciate it. But like I said, massive thanks to all these folks. We really genuinely appreciate the support that you're giving. In terms of other types of community contributions, we talk about this a lot. Code is not the only way to contribute to the community. Supporting each other is not the only way to contribute. You can also write about DataHub, share your experience, and just kind of get the word out. So this is a fantastic blog by Frederick from the Wolt team. So in this blog, Frederick breaks down really concretely how they choose different open source projects, why they choose them, what they look for. And then there's also kind of a deeper kind of like success story with DataHub. So if you're new to DataHub, if you're new to open source, highly recommend checking this out. And speaking of blogs, if you are interested in improving your writing skills, or if you want to contribute in these kind of like non-code ways, we recently rolled out our community contribution program for our blog. If you are interested in doing that, we will help you along the way. We know that your time is valuable, so we'll also give you a little bit of compensation there for your efforts. And yeah, we want to help you be successful there. So feel free to either reach out to me directly if you have questions, or you can just jump into the Contribute DataHub blog channel. One last thing, I was in Tel Aviv earlier this summer to speak at Haya Data. These videos are now finally live. So if you want to check that out, we talk about kind of core principles of what a data practitioner should do with metadata. And that's it from a community side. Shashanka, I will hand it over to you.
Cool. I have been told to be less verbose today, so I'll go very quick. We had, as usual, a lot of PRs getting merged. As Maggie said, our PR consumers are keeping up with the input volume. And so we had quite a bit of activity, up from the summer lull of 150, getting closer to that 200 range that we were seeing prior to the summer. So we're getting to about 180 PRs this last month or so. Lots of contributors, and as usual, some new contributors as well. So really enjoying to see new contributions coming in, not just on the main open source DataHub project, but also on the Helm chart side of things. We really appreciate all your contributions, not only in the core parts of the stack, but also in the deployment side of the house. So keep them coming, and looking forward to more. In terms of product updates, you'll see quite a bit of that in the rest of the demos today. But just a quick recap, we talked about John demoed bulk edits last town hall. This is now live in the current release. We also have improved search cards, displaying usage and freshness information. So it kind of gives you a lot more information right there when your search results come back to you. We're also rolling out a lot more of the forms for different sources. So Snowflake, BigQuery, Looker, and Tableau already there, and a lot more are coming. And then on the ingestion side, or the integration side, we had quite a few improvements that are in the latest UI as well as CLI release. You'll see Chris demo ingestion run summaries. I'm really excited about that. So we'll see how that looks. We also have improvements to transformer land. We have like a dataset domain transformer. So independent of whichever source you've got going, you can always add domains to datasets during ingestion. The Snowflake beta connector is now released, and so you can start using it. We're already dogfooding it with ourselves, as well as with a lot of other folks, and it's showing a lot of improvements compared to the previous Snowflake connector. we expect to make it be the default connector in the next release. It also supports test connection, so you can check whether you've processed proper access levels and things like that. Something that we just released last week was improvements to the file source. There wasn't enough space to actually put that in there. So the file source, which is supposed to ingest metadata events, now supports really large files. So you can have like a gig or 2 gigs of metadata events that you can ingest using the file source, and it won't croak. It also supports folders now, so you can give it a folder of a lot of files that have metadata events in them, and it will just handle it just fine. In terms of the dev experience, we have also rolled out a Java-based file emitter. So that's basically for the Java SDK to be able to produce files that are now compatible with also the Python source. And last but not the least, there's now a failed events log that you can configure when running your ingestion pipelines. So oftentimes you've run a large ingestion and 1 or 2 events may be failed to get written to DataHub. And now we support the ability for you to actually log those events so that you can look at them, figure out what went wrong, try to replay them, etc. So that's all I had for product updates. As a high level, quick UI sneak peek of stuff we launched. We have now, you'll notice a last synchronized flag on each entity. And that basically shows you when we heard about this entity last, we meaning DataHub. So this kind of gives you a sense of liveliness of the data set with respect to DataHub knowing about it. So this works across a lot of different aspects, schemas, time series aspects, and everything. So it gives you kind of at a high level, when is the last time we heard anything about this data set? The next thing that we've rolled out recently is a simplified homepage preference. So we heard this feedback a lot that DataHub is amazing as a technical catalog. It shows you everything about everything. But at the same time, there are personas like business users who maybe don't care as much whether an Airflow task shows up in their search result or an ML model shows up in their search result. And so we are giving people the ability to set a simplified homepage preference for themselves. And once they do that, it actually is going to remove some of these more technical artifacts from your browsing experience. So hopefully this helps you kind of get both technical and business users feel like they have a home here. Secondly, we also heard some feedback from the community around kind of the organization of the sections on the homepage. And so we're moving up domains up to give more, kind of to let them shine more, right? So if you're putting a domain-oriented strategy in place, you want people to start with the domains. And that's why the domains are actually getting lifted up on in preference to kind of the platform section. So as usual, we like to iterate with the community. We hear feedback and we make changes, keep the feedback coming, and we'll continue making improvements to the user experience.